Clinton Yates from ESPN Radio. He is based in L.A. He does a ton of radio. He is old school radio, and he is also you are old school radio, sir. I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciated it because I am also old school radio. And I know you are a native of the D.C. area. So let's talk about last night. I know you had a reporter, Tariq El-Bashir, I believe, who covers the Caps. You had him on today. So thoughts on Game 1, sir?
Well, quickly, I want to take you guys, behind the curtain real quick. So yesterday, Scott Van Pelt tweeted out, should I wear a jersey with my name on the back of it to the game today, or is that bozo behavior? And I hit him up. I was like, that is absolutely bozo behavior. I'm sure it was given to you, but you can't wear that. He didn't end up wearing it, but he did go to the game. And I want to ask you, do you wear jerseys with your name on the back of them, even if they are gifted to you?
I do not wear jerseys, period.
Okay.
So
right, fair enough. I'm in the same boat. I mean, I wear jerseys occasionally, but no, there's no world in which I would have my own name on the back of a jersey, even if I was going to see the team I rooted for. But
I do have a Durham Bulls jersey with my name on the back, which I did wear when I threw out the first pitch. I don't know how many years ago that was.
Yeah.
But no, otherwise I do not own a jersey.
Fair enough. Shout to the Durham Bulls. I have thrown out a first pitch there as well. But one of the things I was talking to Tarek about was, and this is something that is a kind of a general analysis, but it is something that I think is very real, particularly in the playoffs, was that, he was there, he was covering it. He said, you just never felt from the moment the puck dropped that the Caps are going to win this game. And that is the kind of energy that I feel that they're going to have to find a way to reclaim, particularly on home ice, the Capitals, that is, because Carberry is still a guy who is relatively young in his coaching journey. I mean, you look at him up against a guy like Rob, and listen, I'm old enough to remember when Rob played. You know what I mean? So the identity of that team being a lot of what he's about, I think is really one of the best things going about Carolina right now.
There is no question. The culture that he has established, now it's 7 straight years in the playoffs. Now they have not gotten ultimately to where they want to be. A lot of that is their roster is not as stacked. Like we watched the teams in the West. You watch Edmonton, who has 2 of the best 3 players on earth, or Colorado, that has maybe the best player on earth right now in Nathan McKinnon. Dallas is loaded, including our old friend Mikko Rantanen out there. So Carolina doesn't have that level of talent, which sometimes is forgotten. I think you're right about the Capitals. They never got their footing in the game last night. I think the first 5 minutes of the second period was the best they had to offer. They got a goal out of it, and they got another great scoring chance after that, but Freddie Anderson turned that aside, and from that point on, the rest of the game was played on the Hurricanes' terms, and I think Carolina's got another level to get to, because I didn't think Carolina I don't think Carolina was good offensively. I thought they had the puck a lot, but they didn't generate. Like, I don't remember any Logan Thompson saves from the game. He played well. I'm not saying he didn't, but I don't remember anything that went, oh my gosh, how did he get to that?
Right.
And I think that's what Carolina didn't do. Manner.
Yeah, no, and I think that's in a weird way sort of a bellwether for both teams. If you're the Caps, you say, okay, look, you weathered this storm, and I don't mean to use that pun. I know you guys use it down there a lot, but you only lost in overtime. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like this was some blowout matchup, and they were never really in this. So I think that's if you are a Capitals fan, which I am, that's how you got to look at this. If it took that much of an effort and all that happened was a one goal loss that happened to be in overtime, then maybe you've got a chance if you can get your head in the right space. But also, if you're the Canes, you say, well, there's got to be a way to play better than that, because that was about as ugly as a performance as you're going to see against the team that we know has a pretty high ceiling.
Oh, no doubt about it. Clinton Yates, by the way, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Clinton Yates. If you are listening locally here in Raleigh, his show flows right into this, apart from like a 6-minute commercial gap, because bills need to be paid. And I know. Look, I dig the fact that you are old school about radio. I dig the fact that you take phone calls. We don't do that here because I'm not sure how many people are interested in what I have to say or in interacting with me on a voice-to-voice basis.
Right.
This has been a great year, though, for the Capitals, and I still think this is a long series. I think we're going to be here. I think we're going to Game 7 a week from this past Monday because I think these two teams are very evenly matched. But it's been a great year that this team has kind of ridden Alexander Ovechkin, but I think the pieces around him have really carried him, even though he was scoring a bunch of goals.
Right. And to that point, though, I do think there's something to be said for, the way that all happened with Ovi, which was, is he going to get to the record? Is he going to manage to do this before the playoffs actually start? So this isn't hobbling over everybody's heads. It's kind of this weird next year thing. The fact that it happened, and it happened with enough, runway, if you will, for this team to sort of galvanize and get after, get together with each other and then get into the playoffs, and then kind of, again, the playoffs started with a bang for the Capitals. I think they were kind of due for a letdown, to be quite honest. I mean, the human body can only do so much, and you know as well as I do that the tough part about getting through the Stanley Cup playoffs is keeping that even keel. Mm-hmm. There was no world in which the Capitals were even keeled. They were riding high for a real reason because, a record was broken that nobody ever thought we would see broken. That next series against the Canadiens, the first series starts against the Habs, and they win the first game in overtime. So it's like everything was all sort of bubbling over. So I feel that first game against the Canes back at home, sure, you're on your home ice, but there was something had to give. And that deflator happened in game one. And I think, Carolina did a great job for that matter, in terms of making sure that the Caps understood what their game plan was going to be.
Clinton Yates is joining us here. I remember watching that Washington-Montreal game one of that series, and I believe it was at the face-off circle in the offensive zone, and I'm not sure who was doing the game. It might have been Sean McDonough, who said Alexander Ovechkin, for all of the things he's accomplished in his career, has never scored an overtime goal in the playoffs, and he scored on that sequence. And I thought Sean McDonough has seen a copy of the script, and he knows exactly what's coming next. But that was a great play because I thought at that point Montreal rallied from 2-0 down in the third period. That was a pivotal game for the Capitals.
Was huge. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, the record aside, or not the record, but the sort of breakthrough aside for Ovi, it was absolutely monstrous. And, they ended up finishing top in the, they didn't get the President's Trophy, obviously, but they were top in the Eastern Conference. And I think that was one of those things where we just sort of thought, oh, right, there's a whole other team here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They've actually got a chance to make a run here. So I think that, listen, I'm not going to make the declaration that whoever wins this series is going to win the Stanley Cup. I don't think we can do that right now. There's too many talented teams. But I do think that this is probably most likely where you're going to see your Eastern Conference representative come out of. I mean, the Canadian teams are good, but the way that the toughness of Carolina looks and the talent that the Caps have, I think either one of these teams could do well after they get through with this series.
Well, I hope you're right. I think that Florida, if they get
Florida's a good team.
If they get better Sergei Bobrovsky, I think Florida is the best team in the entire league. All right, let me ask you this because I know we only have a couple of more minutes here, and I was going through your timeline real quick before I get to some hoops in a minute. You were tweeting about the Champions League. Yesterday's Inter-Barca game was drunk. Absolutely drunk, stoned that game. I can't even describe for people who haven't seen it. They're like Inter looked like they won it, then Barca looked like they won it, and then Inter scores right at the end to force extra time, and then they win it.
It was like three separate games in one.
Insane.
And that's what made it so crazy, and that's kind of the beauty of soccer. I feel like this particular Champions League has been extra special at that too. There's been some really quality performances where it's not just the makeup of the sort of classic clubs. We've got some actually super fun tilts, and yesterday was no different. I couldn't believe it. I was like, and I'm texting back and forth with my boys, and it's like everybody's like, okay, well, I guess it's over. All right, well then by the end it's just all caps, nonsensical words. People just jamming the keyboard. It was fantastic. Great day.
It was tremendous. Jan Sommer, Inter's goalkeeper, made 4 of the most incredible saves I've ever seen. Finally, are the Warriors in great shape, or are they done? They win game 1 on the road, but now they don't have Curry. Who knows how long he's out? Your thoughts on that?
I think that's really tough. It's really tough, I think, from a matchup standpoint because Curry is kind of not even kind of, he's the whole thing. And the production is one thing, but the psychological element of having Steph Curry is as much as an advantage as anything he's going to do from a basketball standpoint, because if he starts heating up, there is a true demoralization factor that happens when that guy gets going. And so not only for him to be out, but potentially be hobbled when he does return, I think that's the worst part. I mean, that guy, he moves around the court better than anybody has in this era of basketball that we're in terms of his off-ball movement, in terms of what he does defensively. And for a hamstring strain to catch him up, it makes sense. The guy runs all the time. Yeah. He ran 2 miles on the court in Game 7 against the Rockets. So it's unfortunate because, he's an older player. We're not going to get necessarily to see a bunch more entries from him in these playoffs. And I think it's a real problem for the Warriors, and there's no way around that.
I mean, I remember watching that scrawny kid run around in a Davidson uniform that looked like it was his older brother's. And it's hard to believe that guy is to me, easy top 10 all-time player in the league. He is the greatest shooter we have ever seen. He's a better point guard than people give him credit. He is just an incredible player and a winner. My gosh, it is just amazing to me that guy, and we watched him right here because the coming out party was against Georgetown in that NCAA tournament in Raleigh.
We remember. Those of us Warriors fans are well familiar with how that went down. I talked to my homie David Dennis Jr. all the time, who was at Davidson when Curry was there, and he talked about those days like it is literally the greatest time of his life. But I do want to say overall, you're exactly right about Curry. I mean, whether or not people want to have people on their GOAT mountains or whatever you want to call it, the bottom line is that I don't know that anybody has ever made me feel the way that I feel when I watch Steph Curry play. We did this thing for ESPN where they asked a bunch of the on-air personalities what our top 5 teams of all time were back when The Last Dance came out. Right. And I put the 15-16 Warriors team, the team that did not win the title, as my number 1 team because I said, it's the best basketball team I ever saw. I don't care about the rings. Did you watch that? Do you remember that? And Steph Curry was a huge part of it, and that's basically where I'm forever going to stand on it.
Clinton Yates from ESPN, at Clinton Yates on Twitter. I thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. I appreciate your old-school treatment of the craft of radio.
I really appreciate that. And, listen, somebody's got to keep it alive. It is the most intimate form of media we have. Appreciate you.
Hey, take care. I'll talk to you again.
Yep.